going on, guys? We got it. Week 3. Didn't get you one week 2. Sorry about that. I was hoping to have new internet, so I didn't put one out. And the wonderful internet company decided to call me and say, well, we got your message and we didn't have any record of us scheduling service, even though I showed them a confirmation email, so whatevs. So new internet comes Wednesday. So I'm going to upload this. I'm on the way to a water park and a wedding, so I'm going to run through this real quick. I'm just going to try to give you a little bit of information that I kind of see that I didn't put in some of my articles that you got out there. For some of you who don't or just watch this and don't actually look at the email or not on the list, I put down some of the plays that I'm legitimately going to play. They will be in my lineup. Outside of the last 2 weeks, I wrote Carson Palmer. He's dead. He's done. I didn't play him, but he was in great spots. So I did put that out there for people to mull over, I guess. I want to quick go through a rundown of these games, and let's see where we're at. We got week 3. It's kind of an interesting slate. I guess I'm not sold on this slate, one way or the other. On paper, it looks kind of like a really bad slate, but though last night was supposed to be a bad game too, and we had Gurley going for 40, Watkins for 30, Goff for 25, Hyde for like 25. So this could be the week that, we see some rebound. So let's check it out. I'm just going to run through them quick. Some of the plays I like, talk through it just a little bit. I have to get on the road. I got like a 4-hour drive ahead of me. So let's get it up here. We got Arizona, Dallas. I'm going to skip that. That's not on the main slate. So I'm only going to cover the Sunday games. And most likely, if you didn't play Gurley or Hyde or Watkins last night, you're probably dead in that game anyways. So it's probably not something you're going to want to pick up. So let's get to it. Falcons, they go to Detroit. Falcons are playing in a dome. We know they're a dome team. They like to play in a dome, and their splits all say that they play better inside of a dome. So going on the road is always going to be a little bit, a little bit ding to their overall output. I'm not going to look at that too much in this game. Here's the thing that we know. We know Atlanta, they can't defend running backs out of the backfield. Okay. Actually, their stats show a little bit better than they were last year, but still, Ty Montgomery, Tariq Cohen, and Jordan Howard actually dropped a touchdown in the first week too. So we know for a fact that that's still a problem for them. Detroit, they have pass-catching backs. Okay, Abdullah can catch the ball. I think Theo Riddick, this could be a good Theo Riddick game. The game script sets up nice for him, so it sets them up where they should be behind. I don't think they're going to get blown out by any means, but they should be behind. So if they are behind, they might have to, it depends on the type of defense that Atlanta goes to. They could just, soften up that little bit of the field there where they can, dink and dunk all the way down the field to try to eat some clock, and that's a perfect way for Riddick to get a whole bunch of targets out of the backfield and some cheaper yards. Is he a touchdown play? Probably not. He could have had one last week. The other people I like, and especially on the Detroit side, is I like Stafford and Cash. I think his price is good. We always forget about him, but overall, he's not a bad quarterback, fantasy-wise anyways. He always puts up consistently high passing yards, and he always is good for about 2 to 3 touchdowns. That's what we need. And if we can get 20 points out of him, we're going to go over 3x value, and I see that to be, a good play for us. The other one that I look for Detroit is Golden Tate. He runs out of the slot mostly, and we have Brian Poole running out of the slot. And with Brian Poole running out of the slot, so far in Pro Football Focus, and trust me, I'm not the biggest believer in the grading system, but one thing I am very big in is they chart targets well, and they chart what we call is yards to cover snaps, and they also have how many times were they targeted till they got a reception. And Brian Poole ranks almost, I think he's third last in the slot out of there. So that's kind of a matchup The one thing about Golden Tate is he's almost $7,000. He's $6,900 on DraftKings. So we do need a big return on him. That's the one thing that's holding me up here on Friday from putting him in my lineups, is seeing if I can actually get that return. So that's going to be one of the big things that I look for in this weekend. And yes, my wife's probably going to kill me. I'm going to be at this wedding, and all I'm going to be doing is, DFS stuff. But hey, so be it. This is where we make our money. This is, Sunday's our big day. They're just going to have to live with that. Cassandra isn't going to watch this. I already know that, so I know I'm safe to say that. If you are watching, I'm sorry, honey. But on the other side, I don't love Julio Jones. I don't like his price. Julio can go off at any point in time, so we do know that. He draws Darius Slay, who I think is vastly overrated. Okay, so he's considered a shutdown corner in this league. I think that's more Pro Football Focus than it is actually eye test. I don't think he's that great. Still, that being said, I don't love him necessarily in this matchup, but we do know I will be underweight on the field. I will not have 0 shares of Julio. I just cannot go through and have 0 shares of him. Okay. The other thing that I'm going to look for is Quandre Diggs. They have him ranked as the best. PFF does as the best cornerback. I don't think he's there. He was one of the worst last year, if not the worst. We made a lot of money off of targeting him last year. So there's got to be some sort of regression. Even if you look towards the middle half, he goes against Sanu. Sanu is very good at getting targets, hasn't got in the end zone. So I'm going to kind of shy away from that. I do like Sanu in a lot of spots where they're going to target Julio. I think this is going to be more of a spread out game. I don't think this is going to be a Devonta Freeman game. I think it's going to be more of a Tevin Coleman game. They're going to attack those, the linebackers for Detroit, who's pretty much are very unathletic. They are good run stoppers, but I don't think they can hang with Tevin Coleman. And I think what they're going to do is they're going to try to take away the deep ball, and it's going to set up for an Austin Hooper, Tevin Coleman, maybe Sanu underneath, maybe a Taylor Gabriel. If they can get the running game going, Freeman, but I'm gonna fade him completely, and that's always risky to do. But so that's kind of how I see it setting up, and I can see Matt Ryan still getting his 300 yards. I can see Stafford getting his 300 yards, and I can see it all coming from not any big monster giant plays. So that's kind of what I'm looking for in that game. We keep moving. Ravens, Jags, they're on Sunday morning slate. Just keep that in mind. So don't do a lot of research on there unless you're playing that slate. We got the Bills and the Broncos. Here's the thing is, I think we hit peak Simeon point. Good game manager. I think he fits well for this offense. And because of that, I think you can always keep Demaryius Thomas and Emmanuel Sanders in play. So Thomas could be kind of interesting in GPPs just for the fact that Buffalo goes a lot of zone. He's a big wide receiver, and some of those are going to fit his strengths. One thing you got to note: the Bills, they have not had a passing touch or allowed a passing touchdown this year, and they've actually graded out very well against the pass. So if you look at their run, they're third against the run. They got bad towards last year. They were good the years prior to that. I think they're back to being good against the run. So C.J. Anderson for me is out. I wish I had more time because I'd pull up some charts that kind of show you what my logic behind that is. But I'm not going to play C.J. Anderson. I'm not going to not have any shares of him. But I'm also not going to... I'm not going to be even with the field, and I'm not going to be ahead of the field. And I build about 150 lineups. And so, again, even with the field, to say he's 10% owned, that's what his projection is running at 10% of your lineup. So we'll just use 100 lineups that I have him in 10 of them. And so I'm going to be a little bit under the weight on the field, probably around that 5% mark, because I do want some exposure to it. But at the same rate, I don't feel like this is a big game. On the other side, you can cross off pretty much everybody from Buffalo. Shady McCoy, he used to be able to run against Denver. That was their weakness. Actually, this year it's kind of weird. It's reversed a little bit, as Denver is really good against the rush. They do struggle a little bit with running backs out of the backfield. And then they're good against the pass, but they are not defending the tight end, and they're not defending the wide receiver too. So if you do want to take a flyer, Charles Clay, and you can't play any receiver for Buffalo. I mean, if you want to, that's great, but you're going to basically have to hit a dart throw on that. And so I give no recommendations for that. For me, that game is pretty much mostly a fade. I know for others it's not. I'm just telling you, for me, it is. Carolina, New Orleans. This game scares the living hell out of me. We know New Orleans is bad. They're 31st overall defense, 32nd against the pass, 17th against the rush, 29th against the running backs out of the backfield, 30th against wide receiver 1s, 30th against wide receiver 2, and 25th against the tight end. My God, where do you start? It sounds like a fantasy dream, right? Here's the problem I have, is I think the run defense is a little better than being 17th overall. Not a lot, but just a little bit better. And I also think Carolina's line is bad. I don't think they can run the ball, especially between the tackles, okay? And we all know, coming from Minnesota, how good Matt Khalil is. So moving on, we got to look at running backs out of the backfield. I think this sets up perfectly for McCaffrey. He's been getting more targets the last 2 weeks, and he's not getting a full share of the workload as a full-time runner, but he's in on a high percentage amount of plays. And last week, Cam Newton missed him on a touchdown, so there's right there. That would boost his ownership again this week. The other thing I look at, though, is what's up with Cam? Is Cam actually good, or is Cam was his MVP year more of an outlier? And it kind of has been in fantasy. This is where it scares me. Do you run even with the field? Do you run overweight on the field, or do you run underweight? The thing is that Cam's price, it's a good price, but we still need to hit about 18 Draftkings points to get there. And Cam has been throwing under 60%, and that's not good for an NFL quarterback. He's missing one of his top weapons in Greg Olsen, which is going to free up some more targets to McCaffrey. It's going to free up some targets to Kelvin Benjamin, and it's going to free up some more targets to Devin Funchess. And now Devin Funchess is kind of one of these sleepers that I like. Now, I wouldn't play him in cash games, but I would look at him, playing him in some big tournaments, some big field tournaments, because every time I've played Kelvin Benjamin, it seems like I have to grasp, or, I gasp for air a little bit, because Cam throws it to the end zone and Funchess touchdown, or Funchess drops it. He's got a lot better at his receiving skills. One of his big things was he couldn't hang on to the football. He's a big-bodied receiver. He used to play tight end. So it fits perfectly with Cam's size. And I think that this could be a perfect spot where Devin Funchess steps into a bigger role in this offense, and he's super cheap. And so I'm going to put him in quite a bit of lineups, and I'll probably run ahead of the field on that. I might run at 10 to 15% on Devin Funchess. McCaffrey's the other one. He's still unproven a little bit as far as he hasn't had that big breakout game that everybody expects. I do think he gets involved in the passing game a lot more. The thing is Cam is the big key, and that offense goes as he goes, and your Sunday's going to go as he goes too. If you put too much in and he's not, Cam of his MVP year, we're going to be behind the field. If you don't put enough in, you could be staring up at the lights and saying, there's no way I can make up a 32, 34 spot. And Cam can do that. I mean, 1 rushing touchdown, 2 passing touchdowns, and 200 yards, and I mean, he's there. So that's something you need to look at. On the New Orleans side of the ball, like I said, I apologize, I'm going through this quick. I got to get out of here. On the New Orleans side of the ball, I'm not playing anybody. Okay, Carolina, great run defense. Their cornerbacks are vastly underrated. They were rookies last year. They came into the second year, and they have improved immensely. I want to look at it here. Yeah, New Orleans. Look at this. They're Carolina, second against the pass, second against the rush. They can't defend wide receiver number 1s as well, so maybe take a flyer on Michael Thomas. But if they're smart, they're going to bracket Michael Thomas. They're going to try to take him out of the game, and they're going to make people like Ted Ginn, who, just keep in mind, is kind of running as a third receiver now, so get rid of that revenge narrative. And Coby Fleener, which Coby Fleener screwed me last week, and it's probably rightfully so because I fade him nonstop because I just don't think he's good at football. But he caught a touchdown at the end. Really screwed me because he was not having a game. Took 25% of the field and shot him up past me. So I'm going to stay out of there. And Drew Brees has a bad road split. Um, he's just not a good quarterback on the road, and he's especially bad in Carolina. So if you want to play him, that's fine. I'm just giving you that information. I'm off of Breeze 100%. We'll get down Bears Pittsburgh. This game I have a lot of interest in. For a couple of reasons. I don't think Pittsburgh offense, everybody is saying, oh, they don't look explosive. Well, every year they don't look explosive at the start, and people forget that. I charted this last year, and it wasn't until about week 4, week 5, I know it's only week 3, but they started to pick it up. This year, why I'm kind of interested is they have Martavis Bryant, who him and Le'Veon both did not play football. Le'Veon did not have a training camp, and Martavis did not play for basically a year. So I think they're rounding into football shape. We saw it last week. Trey Waynes is bad, don't get me wrong, but also, even though Trey Waynes is bad, Trey Waynes couldn't hang with Martavis, and they tried to get him the ball. They even ran a reverse to force the ball to him a little bit. I think Bell's going to get back in. I think they're going to split him out in the slot. They're going to do a couple goofy things because Chicago has a good front four. They have held the running backs to like 3.2 yards per carry, something like that. And what I think they're going to do is I think they're going to keep pounding Bell, and they're going to keep getting him in, getting him the ball. So, and they can't defend. Chicago cannot defend wide receiver ones. Okay, they're 31st in the league against it. I think it's a fire-up Antonio Brown week. We saw, even though they're on the road, what he could do. The home road thing doesn't really apply to Antonio. It does more for Big Ben. And on this situation, I think the weather's going to be nice. Even though that Ben's on the road, I still think he's going to go for 250 and 250 and 3, something along those lines. So he's definitely not a cash game play, but he's totally a GPP play. We get over into the other side of the ball. Chicago is kind of interesting. They don't have any wide receivers. I'm not playing Kendall Wright. I get the logic for it. I get that he's going to get a whole bunch of targets, or should, in theory, get some targets. I just don't think Mike Glenn is very good, and I think this Pittsburgh defense is better than they get credit for. The one person that is interesting, if Jordan Howard's out, I think their biggest back is they're going to have Tariq Cohen, and I think they're going to be coming from, 15, 20 points behind, and they're going to have to pass a lot. And when you're behind that much, what do? You soften up your defense, and you take all the underneath throws, and that's where Cohen's going to get his yardage. So I look at that as a play. Other than that, there's really nobody. If you want to take a flyer on Zach Miller, that's great. He's just not a play for me this week. Bengals Green Bay, couple real quick things. AJ Green week, okay? AJ Green is going to be chalked. There's a couple things to look at. I get scared because A, he does get hurt, okay? B, if they're smart, they're not. Who do the Bengals have on the other side? John Ross, rookie. Tyler Boyd, coach is not happy with him. What are you going to do? I would bracket the hell out of AJ Green this week, okay? Again, here's one of those situations. They bracket the hell out of him. What are you going to do on the other side? You're running that risk that they don't. So you're running the risk that they take AJ Green out of the game completely, or he goes off for 180 and 2, 180 and 3, because this new offensive coordinator really likes to throw the ball. One of the things I look for in this game that's kind of going to be on a radar is I don't want any part of that backfield for Cincinnati. However, Green Bay cannot defend the pass out of the backfield. I got to do some more research on this. I got to see what Gio's targets are. But if that's the case, I could see Gio having one of those, 8 target, 5 reception game for like 40 yards and a touchdown. And so I have to look into that. Green Bay side, Rodgers has got to be mad. He's getting hit. He should have some of his weapons back this week. Jordy sounds like he's going to play. We don't know about Cobb yet. I was really hoping Jordy was out, because then I would tell you to play Martellus Bennett, because he did see 11 targets when those guys were out. I'm going to be off of him now. So if you read that subscriber list and you're watching this video, I'm off. However, Ty Montgomery, he's game script proof. If they're up, they're going to run it. If they're down, they're going to pass it to the running back. So he's basically matchup proof right now. He's 6,900, but I don't see a way that Ty Montgomery doesn't at least have a chance at hitting 3x's value. And obviously Rodgers is in play. I do like other quarterbacks better this week, but I could definitely see this being one of those bounce back, throw 3 touchdowns, 360-yard games for Rodgers. I mean, I know it doesn't help you out telling you that because that's pretty much the obvious, but I just do see it as that as a way to go there. The one thing I do know is Cincinnati, they do defend the wide receiver very well, and I don't think people understand that. They see a bad team, but they don't actually look at the numbers on it, and they do defend that a lot better than I thought. Cleveland. So we got Cleveland. They're favorites this game. They go to Indy. I love it. It's a controlled environment. Okay. 2 bad teams. Kaiser likes to drive the ball. He just lost his weapon. And Corey Coleman. Kenny Brent, he's checked out mentally. Indianapolis, they can't defend the pass. They're really bad against the tight end. And I think Kaiser and believe it or not, Brissett are going to sling this thing around. Whether they hit the over, I don't know. But one thing's for sure is I damn sure think they're going to try. So there's going to be 2 things that's going to happen. It's going to be one of these 30-24 games, or it's going to be a 6-3 game. There's just no ifs, ands, or buts about it. I do like Crowell for the Browns, more of a fan dual play because he's touchdown dependent. I do like Rashard Higgins. I have not dove into him enough to get on it. I do know he had like 11 targets last week, and he had a huge game against a tough pass defense. So I'm going to look at that. I was on Kaiser. I'm out now. I'm out just for the simple fact that the game isn't going to... It just doesn't set up for me to make sure that he's going to hit 3x value. It's a tough play. I wish I had more time to go through it. On the Indy side of the ball, fire everybody up, except for the running backs. And here's why. Cleveland, bad against... They're just terrible against the tight end, okay? I looked it up on PFF site. They have 2 linebackers that I have never even heard of before in my entire life, and they are guarding. They're guarding what's going to be Jack Doyle. Jack Doyle, 8 for 8 last week and 79 yards. Brissett, what do you do with a young quarterback? What's your safety blanket? Always the tight end. What can't Cleveland defend? They can't defend the tight end. Seems like a perfect fit. He's only 3,600. Listen, so let's see. If we do the math, he's got to hit 10.8 DK points to hit value. I mean, you give him 3 receptions, 40 yards, and a touch, and boom. I mean, you've crushed value on that. So I see no reason, and he's not going to hurt you. He's only going to help your team. The other sneaky plays, and these are GPP only, and I don't suggest if you're only playing a few lineups to do this, but I'm going to play T.Y. Hilton. Okay? He can get behind those corners. Brissett is so much better than Tolzien. And I'm going to play a little Dante Moncrief, and I'm going to tell you why. He was targeted 8 times last week. He had 2 big drops, and he just didn't have a very good game last week. If he gets those targets again, fire him up, man, for... I think he's like 3,500, 3,800. Again, he's another one that just has to hit value, and I see this game with a lot more yardage than what people probably expect out of it. So those are going to be kind of some of my sleepers is coming off that Indianapolis side of the ball. Let's go. We got Texans at New England. Listen, I don't want anything to do with the Texans. Done. They're nothing. 0. Zilch. Nada. And I know New England can't defend the tight end right now. I don't want Ryan Griffin. You can have him. I don't want him. New England side of the ball, the only thing I can see here is Tom Brady. Kevin Johnson's out for the Texans, so that's going to help with the passing game. I want no part of those receivers, though I will tell you, just for a full disclaimer, I will have some Cooks. And the only reason I'll have Cooks is because everybody will be off of him. He'll be super low owned. And if I stack him, now and that's the key here, you got to stack him with Tom Brady, is if you do that, and they go off, you're going to be way ahead of the field on that. But I'm not going to go a ton. Gronk, we still don't know what's going on with him. I'm off of that. The one guy that I might be on a little bit, and I wrote him up in my article, is Gillislee. And the reason being is he's getting all the red zone touches. And I can see, if you guys remember the game last year, they didn't have any Tom Brady, so they had Brissett, and they just ran. And they ran, and they ran, and they played him again, and they tried to do the same exact thing. And they just pounded that football, pounded that football, pounded that football. These backs are, Gillislee is better than Blunt was last year. And I just think that's kind of the way they're going to attack him this game. I think they're sick of getting the receivers hurt. I think they're going to just play safe football and get out of here with the win at home. I don't think this is any Mad Tom game. I think it's just a straightforward, let's win 24-3, 24-7, and get the hell out of there. So we got the Chiefs, Chargers. One thing about that is Chargers corners are good, so I think they're going to limit Tyreek Hill. That being said, the guy's explosive. Alex Smith really screwed me and couldn't hit him wide open in the end zone last week. Overthrew him for a touchdown. So you have to have some exposure to him just because he's such a big play threat. Kareem Hunt, he's good at football. I just don't know why I don't play him on DK. But yeah, they're going against the Chargers, who have been very good against the run so far. One of their big things is they can't defend the tight end right now. And who does Kansas City have? They have Travis Kelce. And he's one that I absolutely love. So I'm going to fire up a lot of Kelce's at 6,000. So he has to hit 18 DK points. He had over 100 yards last week. And I see no reason why he can't do that again against the Chargers. On the other side, if you want to take a flyer on Phillip Rivers, I mean, he's probably going to be behind or he's going to be right in that game. That's what Phillip Rivers does. I don't want nothing to do with Melvin Gordon. His yards per carry are terrible right now. And last week, if he did not get in the end zone, he wrecks a lot of people's teams. The one person that I will say I like is Keenan Allen. He comes out of the slot. Peters stays on one side of the ball, so if they do run him out of the X position, he will be away from Peters. And he's just a target machine, and Rivers likes him, and he's a monster. I will have him in some tournaments. I will not be playing him in any cash. And then here's the other, Dolphins, Jets. Whew. Okay, so here's the deal is, I love Devontae Parker. It just worries me that he's hurt a little bit. However, we got Devontae Parker, and he is heading into a prime matchup. I think Mo Claiborne's going to be on him, which I have absolutely no concern about. He's a big receiver who can get down the field, and Cutler trusts him, and he'll throw him the ball. He threw the ball to him 9 times. The reason Landry had so many targets is because they tried to take away Parker, which they did, mostly because they San Diego, Los Angeles, whatever you want to call it, has good corners. And from that point, they're just going to take what they gave him, and that was Landry at 2. I think his average depth of target was only like 2 or 3 yards. So that's how he racked up all those receptions. I think this is a huge game for Parker. I've got him pegged for 910 and a touch. So I'm going to go with there. And on the other person for the Dolphins is Jay Ajayi. Listen, he's got a line in front of him. His line's not great, but they're good at run blocking. And one thing the Jets are giving up is a ton of yards. They're just almost at 400 yards. So I wanted to look back in there and be like, well, the Raiders broke a couple big ones last week. Is that kind of why their yards are skewed? And it's not. It has nothing to do with that. They were giving up a ton before they broke those big ones. The Jets just, to me, they look to be the only other team that I can see that possibly can go 0-16. They look terrible on every facet. Miami should be up, and they should just want to grind Ajayi and get out of there. I can see 23-10, something like that. Dolphins. I mean, the Dolphins aren't high-powered or anything, but they should be ahead in this game. Vikings, Bucks. Man, you're going to hate this. Keenum's getting a start, so that just automatically says 0 Vikings for me. Take away their defense. Mike Evans maybe against Rhodes. Rhodes does better against big wide receivers. Mike Evans is quite honestly one of the most elite receivers in this league right now. So I can see play on that just because of the low ownership. The one that scares me is we got Trey Waynes, terrible. He's going against Deshaun Jackson. Winston missed him for a big touchdown last week, and I could definitely see D-Jax beating him here again this week, running some sort of double move on him. And one big play is all you need out of D-Jax, and he's cheap. So I would look at that as a play. Also would look at the Tampa Bay defense. They played good. Granted, it was Mike Glennon, but we have Case Keenum, so you figure it out. And the I guess we have the Giants. We have the Giants-Eagles game. If Jenkins is out, I want nothing. Well, first off, I want nothing to do with the Giants. If you want to play OBJ, that's great. I'm not an OBJ guy. I'm not. I think he's lazy when he plays sometimes. I think he takes these 5-yard slants and does take it to the house. I think he's elite, don't get me wrong, but I do think he gets to be kind of lazy, and his route, he seems like he's defended more than he is given credit for. So I'm not going to play anybody from the Giants. On the Eagles side of the football, I like Ertz. If Jenkins is out, I like Elshon. I like Torrey Smith. Ertz is a cash game play. The other two are GPP plays. However, I can definitely make a case for that. I can make a case where Carson Wentz has played well, but they're not going to blow him out to the point where he's going to have to stop throwing the football. And so I can see him spreading the ball around to those three targets. The Giants are slow at linebacker, and that's kind of where Ertz should thrive a little bit. And Torrey Smith can't catch the football right now, but he has had a couple deep passes that Wentz has either missed him or he's dropped for touchdowns. So that could be a sneaky, cheap play for you. And then we get into the big game, and this is my thing is we got the Raiders against the Redskins. Redskins can't defend the tight end. They can't defend the pass. And Derek Carr is so good at throwing the football. I mean, he's amazing. So when I look at this game, I say fire up all the Derek Carr. Cooper plays, I want to say, I don't have it in front of me, but I want to say Cooper plays mostly out of the left and Crabtree more percentage out of the right. And if he plays out of the right, that's going to give Norman more on Crabtree. And I'm sorry I don't have that in front of me, but I want to say that's what that pulls up to be. I'm going to fire up a lot of Amari Cooper, and I'm going to ride or die this week. And if he doesn't do it, he's off. I mean, I'm probably not going to play him very much the rest of the year. I just feel like this is a great spot for him. Derek Carr, love him. Debating if he's going to be my cash game quarterback. I know as Stafford, I always roll out 2 lineups. And then the other big thing that I look at here is Jared Cook, and I hate him. I hate him as a football player. I feel like he's lazy, but this year for some reason he's getting targets, he's getting open, and Washington is so bad against the tight end. If he goes off for 15, 16 points, you save so much salary that you have a shot at winning some of these GPPs. Yeah, that's a tough one for me. And like I said, I have to get out of here. I've already went longer than I wanted to. We have the Seattle-Tennessee game. I'm not playing anybody. Okay? Derrick Henry is a play that I do like in this game. I think they're going to pound the football against Seattle. But I'm not going to play him. And I'll be underweight on the field just because I don't know what he can do. So hopefully we have a good week 3. I'm leaving 5:30 in the morning on a Sunday to get back for football. Love this stuff. If you guys got anything, let me know. If you got any questions, let me know. I'm just going to be setting lineups and pretending to, pay attention at the sweating. I'm sure I'll get, a couple head nods from everybody. So, again, I appreciate it. Thank you. Subscribe if you already haven't, and we will talk to you when I get back.